to discuss and have dialogues on the theme transfer and commercialization of innovation and emerging technologies for enhancing Africa's industrialization. There is no better place for us all here right now than in this place, in this room, in this time, right now. And it's a pleasure to have us all here. I'd like to take the privilege to introduce to you the mother who gave birth to this program. However, before I do that, I'd like to introduce myself, and my name is Sapon Andrews Boache. I am young, and I am a communication expert at the Technology Consultancy Center, which is the International Center for Innovation, Manufacturing, Technology Transfer, and Entrepreneurship. And I am privileged to be your MC for this session. Thank you very much, Professor Francis Davis, for this opportunity. I'd like to introduce you to the mother who gave birth to this program, the woman for whose reason that we have gathered here today. And she is no other than Dr. Justina Dubaza, who is the Executive Director of the Sahara Institute in Accra, and he currently is also the consultant to AUDA-NEPAD. Ladies and gentlemen, with a clapping offering, please let's welcome Dr. Justina.
Good morning, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 10th Calestous Juma Executive Dialogue. One may ask, what is this Calestous Juma Executive Dialogue, and how did it come about? I believe we've all heard of the Agenda 2063, which is the blueprint for development for Africa. That's the African Union document, as well as the STISA, Science, Technology, and Innovation Strategy for Africa. Now, these two are supposed to serve as framework for development for AU member states, and government are expected to really integrate science, technology, and innovation into their development plans. With all these in place, it was observed that there was a bit of a gap, that governments were not doing this as effectively as was expected. And so the AU felt that it was important to put into place a system or structure that would provide some support to the member states. And so what happened was that the AU high-level panel on emerging technologies was established to provide this technical support. And so the AU high-level panel, called APET for short, really undertook an analysis to identify technologies that are relevant for African countries. This was important because it was felt that African countries are at different levels of development. And so the technologies that may be required on the continent may be different from that which is required in developed countries. And so in doing this, the knowledge products were developed, awareness created, particularly to ensure that these technologies are adopted in a very responsible manner. Now, in doing this, one other gap that was identified was capacity. So APET felt it was really important to develop the capacity of member states, particularly with regards to adoption of these technologies. However, they did not want to do this in an ad hoc manner. And so they had to establish a platform that will provide this consistent knowledge and experience sharing of lessons learned and best practices, So this actually brought forth the Calestous Juma Executive Dialogue. So this is the 10th one that is being organized. We started from scratch, and we'd had these executive dialogues across the continent, provided capacity strengthening to as many stakeholders as possible. And as a consultant, I'm really privileged to continue to be involved with the program. I used to coordinate it, not much difference in the roles, except, the position itself. And so we are really happy to have the 10th Calestous Juma Executive Dialogue at KNUST today and tomorrow, and really looking forward to productive dialogue. What we would really like is to get real action points out of this deliberation, so that it wouldn't be a talk shop, so to speak, but then we'll have action points to deliver on when we leave this place. And so with this, I'm going to hand over once again to Sapon Andrews Boachi, who will introduce our chair or moderator for this session. Unfortunately, she's not able to be with us in person, but I believe that she's going to moderate, thanks to technology, do that virtually. So once again, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 10th Calestous Juma Executive Dialogue, and have a great time of deliberation and a productive time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Justina. I'd like to once again introduce my co-host, and she is Professor Oti Boateng. Prof, how'd you like to say hello to us before we go ahead into giving housekeeping announcement?
Yeah. Hello, good afternoon from Nairobi. Apology, I couldn't be with you, but I'm with you virtually. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We commit this session into the name of the Father, the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. I'd like to make the following housekeeping announcement. This session is happening live here in this room, and we are having the virtual session also via the Zoom. For us here in this space, here are a couple of things for us to take notes of. We have the Wi-Fi access to it. It's called the Syndicate Wi-Fi. The password is projected right behind me. It will be projected on the screen for us all, and especially for the guests to have access to. And because this is a dialogue, we will want everyone to engage in terms of the discussion we are going to have today. And as a result, in front of you is a microphone, as I do have mine here with me. Now, on the desk, there are two buttons. One is red and one is black. If you'd like to talk, you need to press on the black button with a talk inscription or indication on it, and then you can speak into the microphone to engage with us. Now, if you want to access the washroom, please, the exit straight to my left here will take you. Once you enter through this exit, you go down the aisle, and we have the inscriptions for the various washrooms for males and females, and you can help yourself there. A week time for us to take a welcome address from our landlady. However, before the landlady's address, I'd like to introduce a musical interlude. However, my co-MC, Prof. Peggy, will introduce our landlady. And to give us the musical interlude is the Adadam Musical Group. Please. Let's give it up for him. Thank you very much for such relieving performance. I'd like to take the privilege to introduce, to welcome all dignitaries we have here present. We have the Provost of the College of Engineering, Prof. Brichum. It's a pleasure to have you here. We also have Professor Joseph Opon Akurua from the Department of Agric and Biosystems Engineering. Prof, it's a pleasure to have you here. All right, thank you very much. For some reasons, the landlady could not make it here. However, to give the address on her behalf is our very distinguished trailblazing scholar and my own boss, who happens to be the Provost of the College of Engineering. With a standing innovation and a clap offering, please, let's welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Professor Brichum.
Mr. Mohammed Abdisalam, Director Strategy, AUDA-NEPAD. I think he's here with us. Professor Peggy Oti Boateng, Executive Director, African Academy of Sciences. Dr. Michael K. Ajekum Ado, a guest speaker and also founder of the Kama Group. Professor Karim Maridia, Michigan State University. Professor Leonard Amakuji, Provost College of Science. Esteemed academics and researchers, innovators and industry leaders, distinguished guests, media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning. I bring you greetings from our dear Vice Chancellor, Professor Rita Akusia-Dixon, who could not be here because he had to attend an equally important meeting. So I will therefore deliver the welcome address on her behalf. It is with great honor and profound pleasure that I welcome you all to the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Kumasi, the premier science and technology university in Ghana and in Africa. We are delighted to host the 10th Calestous Juma Executive Dialogue. On behalf of the management and staff of KNUST, the TCC International Center for Innovation, Manufacturing, Technology Transfer, and Entrepreneurship, and our esteemed partners, I extend a warm welcome to you all to this momentous occasion. We are especially delighted to host this prestigious event, which is founded by the African Union Development Agency and the new partner.
Recording in progress.
Founded by AUDA and NEPAD and the African Union Commission in honor of our late Professor Calestous Juma, a Kenyan scientist and a globally recognized leader in the application of science, technology, and innovation for sustainable
Recording in progress.
development. His pioneering work has left an indelible mark on the Africa's development agenda. His vision for Africa as a leader in the global innovation economy continues to inspire our collective efforts. It is in the spirit of his legacy that we gather today to address a critical need for the transfer and commercialization of innovations and emerging technologies to accelerate Africa's industrialization. The theme for this year's dialogue transfer and commercialization of innovations and emerging technologies to enhance Africa's industrialization is both relevant and timely. History has shown that science, technology, and innovation are the engines for development. This is apparent in the development of North Africa, Europe, North America, and the recent developments of Asia and the BRICS. So the question is, why not Africa? Why not Africa? Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology established the Technology Consultancy Center in 1972 to promote industrial and technological development in Ghana and beyond. In 2021, the Technology Consultancy Center's continuous commitment to excellence and its prestigious global recognition as a designated UNESCO Category 2 Center of Excellence through tripartite agreement between UNESCO, the government of Ghana, and KNUST. As a university and a UNESCO Category 2 Center of Excellence, we remain committed to fostering innovation, research and development in alignment with Africa's goal. Our theme, which is transfer and commercialization of innovation and emerging technologies, holds the potential to transform Africa's economies through sustainable growth and industrialization. Our efforts in education, research, and innovation must result in tangible development. And achieving this requires intentional efforts and investment to create the needed enabling ecosystem with clear pathways that drive the commercialization of innovation. A key variable to make this happen is the number of scientists and engineers per million people. And the critical mass is more than 1,000 per million. Again, the percentage of GDP invested in science, technology, and innovation should be at least 1 to 4%. The integration of science, technology, and innovation capacity with industry and development remains a challenge. We are far from reaching the critical mass desired. That's the desired threshold. And the situation is even exacerbated by brain drain. If you take our universities, the number of scientists and engineers that we graduate at the end of the year, a big proportion will leave our shores, because we struggle to retain our brightest scientists and engineers, even for postgraduate studies in Africa. And this must stop if we are to make meaningful progress. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the potential to reverse this trend through deliberate policies, infrastructure development, investment, and capacity building initiatives across the continent. The 10th flagship Calestous Juma executive dialogue platform, which we have here, is meant to address these concerns and help reverse that trend, and also chart a new course for Africa's industrial future. And I'm confident that the insights and recommendations that will emerge from this dialogue will significantly shape policies, strategies, and actions that will enhance Africa's capacity to harness innovations for industrialization. This is critical We have no other way to transform our continent except through research, development, innovation, and its commercialization. As I conclude, permit me to express my heartfelt gratitude to our distinguished speakers, panelists, and participants for their dedication to be part of this year's dialogue. Your expertise and perspectives are invaluable to the success of this event. I also extend my deepest appreciation to our partners, sponsors, and organizers. The Director General of TCC CIMET and his team, if they are here, can we see them and applaud them? For making this dialogue possible. Once again, I welcome you all to KNUST and to the 10th Calestous Juma Executive Dialogue. May this gathering inspire new ideas, foster fruitful collaborations, and propel us closer to realizing Africa's industrial goals. Thank you, and I wish you all productive deliberations. Thank you.
On behalf of my colleagues, unfortunately we are not able to make it to Ghana for so many reasons. And I hope these are some of the issues which are in Africa. One is the issue of Africans traveling within Africa but have to have visas. The second is also the connectivity problems that we have in Africa. So unfortunately, my colleague and I are not able to make it to Ghana as we have planned. But I'm pleased that other colleagues are present, other partners are there present. And I'd like to thank all of you for honoring our invitation. Before I start, I'd like to introduce our guest. The first one we have is Professor Karim Maredia. Prof. Karim, if you are in the room, can you make yourself visible to others by giving a wave? Okay. We also have, and with him is also our colleague Calista, who's the world travel far and near to be in Ghana. We also have Professor Gideon Nimakun, the strategic planning lead for AUDA-NEPAD, and I hope he's also there present. Professor Gideon, you're present, aren't you? All right. Then we also have, online, I also have my colleague, Professor Ken Nkrumah. Ken, are you online? Can we see you? We also have other, visiting experts from India, who are also, in the room with you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Peggy. In this very moment, we shall take a series of remarks from some distinguished guests here. And for our next distinguished guest, ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased and privileged to introduce this professor who is the head of strategic planning of AUDA-NEPAD. Ladies and gentlemen, to give us our next remark is Professor Gideon Nimakun. Please let's give him a round of applause. We can do better. Thank you very much.
Distinguished guests, participants, ladies and gentlemen, Before I start, let me recognize the Vice Chancellor of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Professor Mrs. Rita Akosua-Dixon. I also want to recognize Professor Peggy Boateng. Actually, I was hoping to meet you here. And last time we met was about 7 years ago in Eswatini at the SADC STI meeting. I wanted to interact with you on a couple of things, but thankfully you're online. Hopefully we can have some deliberation throughout the day and tomorrow. I also want to recognize Prof. Karim. Nice to see you again here. On behalf of the CEO of AUDA-NEPAD, Her Excellency Nados Bekele Thomas, and my director, Mohamed Abdul Salam, I want to welcome all of you to this meeting. Hopefully, it's too formal for my liking. Hopefully, we'll share ideas. It's a new wave of development for the continent. Now, before I start, maybe one thing that we should know about Professor Calestous Juma is that he did a lot of things. In fact, the teaser that just ended, he was the architect of it. But there's one thing that he did that still stands, which is that innovation is not just about technology, but you also have to look at the social dimension as well as the cultural dimension of it. And in fact, that led to the redefinition of innovation in the Oslo Manual, the new Oslo Manual, that says that it is not enough to have new goods and services onto the market, but also corporations can also use their own innovation for their own benefit, which brings the social aspect of it. So this has actually led to a new wave of what we call public sector innovation systems, that a lot of research is going on. So for me, if there's one thing that stands out for Calestous Juma, those are the main issues that I think that probably throughout there. I saw some topics in the agenda. We can deliberate more on that. Now, our discussion should not really steer off from Agenda 2063. We just finished the evaluation of the first 10-year implementation plan for the continent, started from 2013 to 2024, and the results are not quite good. As a continent, we perform 49% continentally. What it means is that all the target that we set for ourselves, the 55 countries, we're only able to achieve 49% of it. Now, when I was in school, when you get 49%, that's a failure. So you can attribute it to COVID-19, the economic growth, the debt crisis that our countries are going through. But what it means is that there's more work to be done in the next decade. As you know, the Agenda 2063 is a 50-year plan broken into 10 series of development plans, what we call the implementation plan. And if you have a first decade that you did not perform so well, you come into the second decade with a payload, work undone. So we call this decade a decade of acceleration. And there are 7 ambitions that the heads of states have agreed on. The first is that, and they call it the so-called moonshots. And this is causing a lot of problems in the development space. But we have 7 ambitions that we set for ourselves. I would like to mention them because it has implication on what we discuss here. The first ambition is that by 2033, we want every African nation to be in middle income status with per capita income of 3,000 market exchange rate USD. Now that's a tall order. That's a very tall order, because if you look currently, the number of countries that, if you look at the debt to GDP ratios of countries, and what it takes for countries to get to GDP per capita of 3,000 market exchange rates, that's a lot of doing. And there are a couple of drivers. One of the drivers that we think from our analysis will get us there is industrialization. And that actually relates to what this dialogue will be alluding to. There are a couple of them. The second one is that we want Africa to be more integrated. We want Africa to resolve all conflict amicably. We want our cultural values to be more explicit, and on and on. But the first moonshot actually is the lead moonshot. And there are a couple of indicators that are set in there that sometimes when you look at it is quite frightening. But I think that if we don't come out of the second decade in that posture, I think the third decade may not be ideal. So it is incumbent on all of us to work together and to find solutions that will get us there. But there are hopes. The hope is that there's a lot of innovation happening on the continent. If you look at Kenya, the fintech industry in Kenya, so many examples that you can cite. Lately, because of Instagram, the word manufacturing actually, sometimes when you mention it in forums, not forums like this, but other forums, it looks like it's an archaic word. But it isn't. Practically, if you look at everything in our modern life, everything is made. So you need to make things. So the idea, in fact, this is what we are hoping for in the next teaser, is that Africa must make things. And the art of making things is in manufacturing. Very, very important. So you have invention, you have the making, and then you have the selling. And so we must start making things. And it is important that we look at the core of what industrialization is about. Now, the third point that I want to allude to is the issue of regional value chains. And I think this is what this topic is referring to. If you look at the ambitions we've set for ourselves, we know the SDGs are more popular than Agenda 2063, but in the last assembly meeting, the UN, the UNECA, and then the AU have come together that going forward, because the SDGs is ending in 2030, and the Agenda 2063, the next 10-year plan is ending in 2033, we want to execute both agenda as one. Because actually it is the Agenda 2063 that gave birth. It is the African positions that gave birth to the SDGs. So the SDGs is actually subservient to Agenda 2063. And so we call something two agenda, one implementation plan. And it is something that the colleagues in UNECA, in Addis Ababa, and colleagues in the AU are vehemently working on it so that we execute that as one. So when we go to countries, it is not talking about innovation differently as SDGs, or is the one in the same thing, targeting the same goals and aspiration. One of the issues is regional value chains. And regional value chains is important because unless we look at the togetherness, the corridor approach of innovation and value creation and product development, I think the real value is not going to come out. If you look at the cobalt deposit in the DRC, and not just DRC, but even the surrounding countries, there is no way that we can actually extract value unless countries start
Recording in progress.
Start coming together. So what do we want? We don't just want extraction. We want the manufacturing of EV batteries on the continent. We want the R&D, large-scale R&D facilities for EV manufacturing on the continent. And you can only do that if countries come together on the negotiating tables. If you go into some of these negotiations and you see countries agreeing on a common position, but when you're on a table, you see countries diverging, That is quite sad. And going into the next decade, I think that the togetherness is what we need in terms of regional value chains. My last point is AFCFTA. AFCFTA have come to stay, the Continental Free Trade Agreement, but in the analysis we did, it shows that the ratification of the AFCFTA in itself will not add to the total GDP of the continent a lot. Because what we realize is that Africa does not trade in differentiated goods and services. So unless we actually exert a lot of effort, because if you look at Malawi, Zambia, Zimbabwe, all these countries produce maize, processed maize. So are we going to trade maize across the border? So the key is that we have to have differentiated goods and services across the board. That is what the value creation is. But ratification in itself will not add much value to the continental GDP growth. Last point is on funding. The Honorable Professor made, I was listening to you closely. You know, we have a continental target that says that we must invest 1% of our GDP in R&D, a target that most countries have not met. But really, if you look at things closely, the fiscal space is stretched. I mean, if you look at the debt to GDPs of countries, it's already stretched. So we need new innovative ways of funding. What we are proposing is a reorientation of the global financial architecture. We must, actually all of us must fight from lending architecture to investment architecture, where the IMF uses GDP, openness of trade, as a metric to lend funds to countries. Rather, we should look at potential for industrialization, potential for investment, and these funds can be turned into investment portfolio. Those are the positions that the African Union is actually championing. So, as we look at technology transfer, let's look at the bigger picture, and the bigger picture is in the Agenda 2063, the ambitions that we've set for ourselves, the scale at which we want to reach those targets, and having every African country in middle income status in 10 years' time, what it would take us to get there. With these few remarks, I will want to end here, and I wish all the participants in the discussion fruitful deliberation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for those words, and I'd like to emphasize that unfortunately many countries are still behind, and would like to continue having such discussions, because having been part of the task force for the redrafting of the TISA 2034, there were a lot of gaps. We haven't, we put ourselves up there, but we're still very much behind. And I thank you very much, for your comments. Now it is on the program. I have to give my remarks. Distinguished guests, esteemed partners, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I particularly want to thank our collaborators, in particular, Professor Kwame Meridea, and also AUDA-NEPAD, and the African Academy of Sciences. This is a tripartite, meeting which has been planned over the years. And it's a follow-up to one of the meetings we had last year here at the Academy, which we hosted. And I'd like to thank Professor Karim for the foresight. This was an idea that we just mooted a year and a bit ago, when we had the first one, and now we have the second one, and we're pleased that the AUDA-NEPAD, has joined, the consortium to have this meeting. Particularly, it was heartwarming to see, most of my colleagues from KNUST, especially the provost, Ayuko provost for the College of Engineering. And I also want to acknowledge my colleague, Professor Davis, from the TCC UNESCO Centre of Excellence for taking up the challenge and bringing or taking the meeting to Ghana. I know it wasn't easy to organize such a meeting from a distance, particularly when we have collaborators in the US, in Nairobi, in South Africa, and in Ghana. But I think we have made it, and I would like to thank you, Professor Davis, for making this possible for us to be with you in Kumasi and bringing the meeting to Kumasi. I won't belabor the point because my, our colleague from AUDA-NEPAD has really, given us what the challenges are in Africa. And I sit here, haven't been, and I'm glad he mentioned the SDGs. I haven't worked in UNESCO for many years, and also in Africa, and also making sure that I'm pleased that now they're trying to merge the SDGs with the, Africa agenda. In fact, you were right, the African agenda gave birth to the SDGs. But unfortunately, there have been a dichotomy and bringing the two together. And most of the SDGs have just come back from New York, Summit for the Future, and that many African countries may not meet the target. And unfortunately, we also didn't meet the target for the agenda for the TISA 2024. One of the key challenge we found was that, and again, just to re-emphasize what Mohammed said, we are not working together as a continent. And I say this because one of the key issues is also visa, movement of people, across borders. We're pleased that ECOWAS has free movement of people and goods, but it's not with the rest of Africa. And that is why some of the people are stuck, couldn't make it to Africa. So these are some of the challenges. Even if we are talking about technology transfer, these are some of the challenges we have to overcome. The next is the education system that we have. Again, there's a whole lot of differences in the education system. We have the Anglophone education system, which is different from the Francophone education system, and it's even far different from the Lusophone, that's the Portuguese-speaking country. So there's no, one playing field for, even technologies or scientists in Africa, let alone for innovators, in Africa. So we must also try to break, those barriers. We have to work on those barriers, and I'm pleased that one of the outcomes, here, and I'm pleased NEPAD is here to see how we can break those barriers. And I'm also pleased to hear, my colleague Provost about, the shows, many of the engineers which you produce, and KNUST produced, a whole spectrum of engineers, but half of the engineers will leave because we don't have the political will to create an enabling environment for our scientists and engineers to work in Africa. So they seek, the shores overseas. And again, AUDA-NEPAD is here, and I would like to see that we do that. But I also say that we shouldn't also frown on our engineers leaving. What we should also enhance is how do we enhance the diaspora? How do we bring them back? How do we create that knowledge circulation so that they will be able to come back wherever they are to contribute, to Africa. So these are some of the issues that we have to be looking at. And again, just to highlight some of the key areas, which needs, again, attention. And I don't think we have moved, we haven't done much over the years, is that we need to strengthen regional collaboration. We need to work as one Africa. We need to leverage on our networks and platforms and foster cross-border partnership that can facilitate knowledge exchange, market access, joint research initiatives. By working together, Africa can pool resources and share expertise and create a more vibrant innovation ecosystem. And this is exactly what the African Academy of Sciences has been doing for the last 40 years, creating the platform for, not only conversations like this, but also platform for innovation. The second one, again, my colleague talked about funding mechanisms, and he's saying we really need innovative funding mechanisms. And I want to, acknowledge that, yes, we need to diversify funding resources. We need to provide sustainable support for research and development, because these are critical in driving. For example, why should Africa rely on foreign donors for our research, which means many of the data are genomic information? If you don't pay for it, it leaves the shores of the country. It leaves the shores of Africa. Why shouldn't African countries commit that 1% of the GDP to research and innovation, and also to education? We need to make sure that we leverage, international funding opportunity, but at the same time, we should create opportunity so that we can leverage on internal funding in various countries. The third, again, that is improving intellectual property protection. There is a whole big discussion about whether IPs, we need to pursue that. And my colleague from NEPAD will indicate whether or not, but there's a whole lot of discussion on it. But the key element is that we must safeguard the fruits of our research. And we must encourage entrepreneurship and create a more conducive environment for technology commercialization. So the center, the TCC, provides, that opportunity. So it would be important if we can enhance, this, institution to play that role, particularly in the university, so that, we can also commercialize some of the technologies that are developed, in the country, but also in various institutions. And the last one is that we need to build capacity and skills. As I speak now, there's a meeting going on with the UNESCO and the AU and UNECA, looking at how do we ensure that we have the adequate skills and capacity to drive the Africa we want. How do we ensure that our curricula is robust to drive, to build those capacity and skills that we need as Africa? We need to work together. And universities should not isolate themselves from even policies which, and involve, advise government to have the right policies to ensure that we invest in training and capacity for research entrepreneurs and technology transfer professionals. And the fact that we also have, to foster a thriving innovation ecosystem. It's only by doing this that we can drive the Africa we want, which means we all have to come together, entrepreneurs, universities, researchers, young people, come together with the support of the government to create that enabling environment for innovation to thrive. So in a nutshell, I would like to thank all of you for this opportunity. I would like to thank our collaborators for this opportunity. In these 2 days, let us explore strategies to bridge the gap between research and market. We need to strengthen intellectual property framework and also unlock new opportunities for collaboration across sectors in the region. And I hope this forum will also provide a unique platform for African researchers, policymakers, and private sector, and also our colleagues who are visiting from India and the US, so that we can learn from each other, share ideas, forge partnership that will accelerate our progress towards a knowledge-based, innovation-led continent. So together we can create an enabling environment where creativity thrives, ideas flourish, and innovation reach their full potential for the socio-economic achievement of the continent. I thank you all. So my next speaker is Professor Karim, my dear, and it's my pleasure to introduce you, Professor. Prof is from the Michigan State University and a member of the AU High-Level Panel on Emerging Technologies, but is also a friend to Africa's innovation and technology transfer. So, Professor Karim, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Professor Peggy, thank you for your kind introduction. So my name is, as I was introduced, my name is Karim Maridia. I'm from Michigan State University. I serve as the Director of International Program in the College of Agriculture and Natural Resources at Michigan State University. We are located in East Lansing, Michigan. Michigan is one of the 50 states of the United States. I'm originally from India. I did my undergraduate degree in India and then came to US, and now I'm working in Michigan. I also serve, as I was introduced, I also serve as a member of the African Union High-Level Panel on Emerging Technologies. I've been serving on this panel since it was established in 2017 or so. So it's a great honor and pleasure for me to be here, for us to be represented here from Michigan State University. We are two of us, myself and Dr. Khalista Rakhmatov there, she's sitting there. So first, I want to thank the organizers, the African Union Development Agency, AUDA-NEPAD, the African Academy of Sciences, UNCST here, the university, our host here, UNESCO, and others. As Professor Peggy mentioned, we have been working for almost last 6 to 9 months to plan this, and we are grateful to UNCST for hosting this. Professor Francis Davis is here. We met in September of last year, and he agreed that please come to Kumasi. By the way, this is my second visit to Kumasi, and I think my 15th visit to Ghana. I came to Ghana in 2004, and I've been coming here since then for various programs. Our university, our college, which is a founding college, we are currently collaborating with 88 countries around the world. And Ghana is a very high priority country for us. Our faculty members, our students, we are working with a number of institutions here. I've been to University of Ghana, Legon, to the Crops Research Institute here in Kumasi, University of Cape Coast. We also work with a number of CSIR research institutions, one in Tamale that's working on cowpea and others, so it's a great honor. This 10th Calestous Juma dialogue, executive dialogue, I've been part of this from the beginning. Late Professor Calestous Juma was a good friend, good colleague of ours. Yeah, I've met him several times. Dr. Justina and our colleague from AUDA-NEPAD mentioned about STISA, the Science, Technology and Innovation Strategy for Africa. Professor Calestous Juma served on that panel also, along with Professor Kasama and others. And I remember first visit, we went to Harvard University and we worked together for a week, and it's nice to hear that 10 years have passed. Our colleague from AUDA-NEPAD mentioned that we have only scored 49.5 marks. Let me tell you, I think we have learned a lot, you know. In those 10 years, we went through a very hard period of pandemic, right? So things have not moved slow, but hopefully it will be moving very, very fast. So I think we have a very exciting program set up. I see very busy schedule. We have excellent participants here representing various institutions here from several countries in Africa. Also, we have colleagues here from India, from 2 or 3 institutions in India, and also we are representing here Michigan State University. So quite a diverse group. The theme of this 10th CJED fits very well with, I think as was mentioned, with the broader vision of African Union, the Agenda 2063, the Africa we want. I think this is science, technology, and innovation are part of that Agenda 2063, that how do we harness, how do we speed up. I remember once I met with late Professor CJED Juma, and he mentioned that we have many technologies, many innovations in Africa, but they are sitting in papers, they are sitting in posters, they are sitting in both. They are not getting out to benefit the society. So I think he left us a great challenge for all of us. And Professor Peggy repeatedly mentioned about collaborations and partnerships and how do we work together. So I think over the next 2 days, let us work together and continue that legacy that late Professor CJED Juma laid out and the challenge that he laid out for us so that we can fulfill the goals and objectives of the Agenda 2063. For Michigan State University, we believe in global partnerships. We believe in global knowledge partnerships. We realize that in this changing world, there are so many issues that they are not country specific. For example, climate change, food security, One Health, energy, environment. These are the problems that I don't think so they are just unique to one country or one continent. They are global problems, and more we can work together. I think we can make a difference. I was looking at some statistics. The Africa's population currently is 1.5 billion people. I think you have crossed India now, you know. But then I was looking at it, the future projections. By 2050, Africa will have 2.5 billion people, 1 billion more people than what we have today. So the challenges of feeding this growing population and meeting their needs is going to grow there. And I think science, technology, and innovation have a great role to play here. We as an APET, we have identified about 9 or 10 baskets of technologies here. One of our member of the APET, Professor Abu Bakr, is here with us from Nigeria. Please welcome him. He is there. Professor Gassama Yaya, former Minister of Scientific Research in Senegal. She serves as a chair, and we have a very distinguished panel there. But panel will come up with guidance documents for strategies and so on. But I think it's up to all of us here and others, the institutions here on the ground, to take that guidance, those documents, and put it in practice. So I think let us work together, and hopefully by the end of tomorrow, we come up, as Dr. Justina and others mentioned, we come up with some action plan, some strategy to move forward, yeah? Last year we met at the African Academy of Sciences. Thank you, Professor Peggy, for hosting us there. We met Professor Francis Davis and many others, colleagues from Africa were there. We discussed many things. This is the second in series as a part of the CJED Juma dialogue. I think now we really have to come up with a concrete action plan so that we can contribute. That way, when I meet with the Honorable CEO of AUDA-NEPAD next time, I can say we are making progress. So, sir, we have not failed, yeah? 49.5 is low, but next time it'll be 60 or more, yeah? But with that, I think, thank you for giving us opportunity to be here. This is a very beautiful campus. As I said, I came to Kumasi, but I went to Crops Research Institute. First time to come on this campus. We want to develop more partnerships. Our School of Packaging at Michigan State is developing a study abroad program to send students to Ghana for a month. Maybe we'll work with KNUST also in that program and expand our program. And thank you. It was so nice and so welcoming to have such a very warm welcome with a very cultural presentations of Kumasi here from Ghana. So thank you, and thank you again for hosting us.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Maridia. It's always a pleasure to have you. And please enjoy Kumasi and KNUST on my behalf. And thank you for those kind remarks. We really, truly look forward to some action plan that we can also contribute to the TISA 2034, because we are just, at the margin of it, and we can also come up with concrete actions which can drive the next decade of science, technology, and innovation on the continent. My next speaker is to give the keynote address on the future of technology transfer in Africa. We have in the person of Dr. Michael K. Ejekum-Ado, health entrepreneur and founder of Kwame Group and Mikado Holdings. I'll kindly ask my colleague, Mr. Sakon, if he can do the intro and give a bit of a background to Dr. Michael Ejekum-Ado. Thank you. I know him very well. He's an alumni of KNUST, but Sakon, may I give you the floor to introduce him to the team? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Prof. Peggy and Professor Karim Maridia. Thank you so much for the warm remarks. I'd like to acknowledge the presence of one of our very esteemed provosts here in KNUST, and he is in the person of Professor Leonard Amekuji. Prof, it's a pleasure having you here. And I'd like to mention that as far as this session is concerned, the highest warm welcome remarks we need to take was the one from the Vice Chancellor, and therefore the Director General, or I'd like to say DJ for short, we didn't have to give any remarks. And on behalf of the Vice Chancellor, the Provost of the College of Engineering articulately and warmly gave us that welcome remark. Prof. Bridgman, thank you so much for the welcome address. And I'm really privileged to introduce our next speaker, who is going to give us the keynote. This man has built a very huge portfolio, and I'm really privileged to introduce. And he is also known as Mikado. He's a renowned Ghanaian health entrepreneur and the founder of Kwame Group and Mikado Holdings. He began his journey in the 1983, many years ago, by opening his first pharmacy in Kumasi. Later expanding this pharmacy into a pharmaceutical manufacturing in the 1986, within that short period, which grew into a successful Kwame Group. Our esteemed keynote speaker, with this conglomerate now spans pharmaceuticals, real estate, microfinance, and education. In 2015, he further diversified with Mikado Holdings, managing ventures like Mikado Laboratories and Farms and Medical Labs. Dr. Ado holds a PhD in marketing as well as entrepreneurship from the University of Ghana in 2022, and an honorary doctorate from KNUST in 2005. He's committed to healthcare, education, and youth empowerment through his Kama education project. And as the Nkabomhene Chief of Unity of the New Drabin traditional area. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a privilege, and join me. Let's introduce our very own esteemed Dr. Michael K. Ejekum Ado with a clap offering. The Adadam group will give us some wonderful performance while he makes his way here. Please, we can do better.
If we are talking about, hello, we are talking about technology transfer. Our previous speakers have spoken about social entrepreneurship, cultural transfer. What they are singing right now, the music they are playing, is about the fact that academic work is not simple. And the lady dancing is also giving a message about the fact that studying, going to school is not so simple. I want you to appreciate the headgear and the beads on the neck and in the wrist. It symbolizes power, spiritual unity, and gives good health. The beads. They are saying that poverty is also not the best. Now, I want you to appreciate the rhythm. She's dancing to the symbols. So if you don't realize the rhythm, that means that you have a problem with your right-hand side of your brain. Shall we give a round of applause? So, I hope you have enjoyed it. And the sound in your ears is making some impact in your brain. That's all that I want to talk about. So, thank you for inviting me, Prof. Davis. I'm such a busy person without good health, but because I was invited by Prof. Davis, I said, I cannot let you down. I'll still have to be here. Can we give him a round of applause? And I realized that the one who represented the Vice Chancellor is my son. Prof. Nkrumah, thank you very much. Prof. Vice Chancellor, I'm also grateful to you. Prof. Karim, thank you very much for coming. I gave lectures to Michigan State University way back in 1998 to the business school. And there too, I made an impact on our culture. Prof. Peggy Otibuati, Executive Director of African Academy of Sciences, I'm grateful to you. Prof. Gideon Nimako, I'm also grateful to you. I want to acknowledge Prof. Leonard Amekuji. Thank you very much. Distinguished researchers, innovators, professors, I'm supposed to give you a keynote address as to what you are coming to do these couple of days. It's all about technology transfer. Hey, we have a lot from Africa, so much. But why are we poor? We have all that knowledge, the skills and inventions. From one organization to another, it's all about technology. We have it in Ghana. Development of internet, from wheels to computers, medicines to zippers and buttons for clothes, from print media to electronic, and now to social media, from AI, for thought detectors, they say lie detectors, they're all coming up. And I am also organizing and promoting and campaigning for detectors for envy and jealousy. And I did my PhD on that. My thesis was on envy and jealousy, that all of us were born with it. Immediately you were delivered as a baby. If you did not cry, we beat you to cry. And why are you crying? You are crying because you are comfortable in your mother's womb. And why should she bring you out? And that's the meaning of the cry. Envy and jealousy from the day you were born. And this is supported by a research by Melanie Klein in 1932, supported in 1952, and agreed in 2012 that we are all born envious from the way we were delivered from outside. And I hear that some Ghanaians are saying that if they knew, and then when they are being delivered, that they could ask questions. They will ask, where am I? They will tell you you are in Ghana. Say, take me back. But if they are born somewhere in the US, they say, oh, I'm happy to be here. Why don't we like our own country? Technology is the development of machines, devices, equipment to serving humans in our daily life. Examples are in energy, robotics, agri, aerospace, environment, computing, herbals, and pharmaceuticals. And later on, I'll talk to you about herbals and pharmaceuticals, where we have so much advantage over Europe and America, from Ghana and from Africa. So to ensure commercialization of innovations, we need this technology transfer. So what is the process? The process starts with invention. And we have a lot of them. We are brainy people doing these innovations. Then we have the disclosure. We need to assess. Then we protect the intellectual property through trademark protection from regulations. Then you go on to the promotion and marketing, which we are talking about now for commercialization. Then you license whatever. Hopefully you get some financial returns. So what are the advantages of technology transfer? It helps us to leverage the learning. It becomes easier if we agree to transfer technologies. It helps the productivity and efficiency. Information becomes easier to access. It creates new jobs, solve problems, and improve quality of life. Finally, it also sustains economic growth and makes life better. What are the disadvantages? Low access to market capital, job displacement, high industry loss, inconsistent profits, no resources available, security risk, and so on and so forth. So if Africa's industrialization should be enhanced, then we need to focus on PPP, private-public partnership. You have to set aside some monies for funding. We have to make sure that we have our regulation. The framework with the political will is necessary. Then we have to have access to global market. Most importantly, the human capacity building in skills and entrepreneurial mindset. Entrepreneurial mindset. Very, very key. And we know, and Prof. Karim have also attested, that CSIR has a lot of innovations, a lot of research work sitting on shelves. So much. Oil and palm, there's so much research that has been done. We call it OPRI. We have a special cement, better than the clinker that we use, which has been established by CSIR. We call it Pozzolana. With food research, we have our precursor. So much. It's a flavor for our food. And it should be internationalized. It should be commercial, international-wise. Talking about Food Research Institute, you know, they've come out with this plantain and cassava and cocoyam powder, which is neat fufu powder. And neat fufu powder was done by CSIR, and they got it for free. The private company got it almost for free. And look at how much money they are making internationally. Neat fufu was done by CSIR. No royalties to CSIR, unfortunately. And when I inquired, it was less than 500 cedis at that time that they paid. And that's it. So we need to do some kind of collaborations by way of agreements, MOUs. When we have that research and a private person is buying, there must be some arrangement. BRI in Kumasi here, Building and Road Research Institute, they have come out with a clay which is made like a block, which can be used for buildings. I'm wondering why the Ghana government is not even using it for the infrastructure development. Hospitals, schools, that brick is from BRI, from our clay deposits in Ghana. Soil research, they've done so much work on this Galamsey thing that we have to listen to them. Water Research Institute is another. Then this IR and then AR, these are all institutes within the 30 institutions of CSIR. They've done a lot. I hope this forum will try to tease out what these people have done so that they don't sit on shelves just for nothing. If you go to Tafu in the eastern region, we have this Cocoa Research Institute. They've done so much work on it. And I visited it before coming here. And they've told me they have 23 different uses of cocoa, not only chocolate, which we are used to. The sweat, the cocoa sweat, can be used for brandy and whiskey. How many people know this? And how many companies are even picking it? Soaps are made from cocoa. 23 different uses. Please try to find out. Get the information so that Africa can be better off. When we have Noguchi here, it was also supported by the Japanese government, making research on virus. I personally had shingles. I don't know whether you are aware of shingles. It came onto my forehead. And I had such crucial pain, excruciating. Pain that I don't believe the women that deliver, you talk about pains during delivery, will match the pain that I had from the shingles. I tried all kinds of medications. It wouldn't go. So I went to Noguchi. So you guys are doing something on viruses. And shingles are coming from a virus. What can I do with it? And how can my pain be reduced? Then the director of Noguchi told me that there is a professor in Cape Coast who is coming out with a medication, herbal medication. Can you see him? I went to Cape Coast, saw him, got his koa mixture. And by 2 slots, this pain went away. And I was shocked. And I'm giving testimonies left and right, center, everywhere. And I'm giving testimonies, even on television, that this koa mixture is good for viruses. It must be internationalized. It must be commercialized. But it's a research that has been done, but I don't know how many people know this from Michigan, from Kenya, from Egypt, but shingles all over the world. But all that we know is about acyclovir. But acyclovir could not help me. Both the tablets and the ointment, but koa did. Shall we give a clap offering for koa? It's an area that we can also help. So this African trade thing is AFCTA with the Secretariat in Accra. We are creating a single continental market for goods and services. We hope that it will reduce our trade tariffs, problems, and barriers. And if even visa is giving us barriers, then where are we, Africa? Africa, yeah, more poor. Africa. Africa. So, my dear friends, before you tackle this meeting and go into your groups, I want to draw your attention to the fact that every 100 years has its own form of a revolution. In the 18th century was Greek. They were looking for tough people, strong people that could till the land of Europe and America because the snow was killing them. They went to Asia, they were so tiny people, they couldn't. They came all over, and when they came to Africa, they saw giants. 8 feet, 8.5, 9 feet people. Hey, from Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso, northern part of Ghana. And they had to take them away, and we called it slave trade. They chained them and took them there. And they could withstand the snow. They could work in the snow. So they left the short ones. They didn't like these people. And those are we here, the short ones. They didn't want us. You'll be so weak that you'll be killed by the autumn, let alone the winter. So when we go for this World Cup, you see some of them so tall, and when we are playing with them, the Ghanaians and the Nigerians, the short ones. However, getting to the 20th century, they realized that these short ones are also brainy. So they had to introduce this lottery system also to pick these people from Africa. So this brain drain has started all through from 18th century to 19th century, 20th century. I want to inform you, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, distinguished scientists, that we have entered the new era, 21st century, which has come with its own form of revolution. Seriously, if you are not aware, then I want to inform you that we are in the 24th year of that 100-year span. And time will not wait for us. If you don't get on board, we'll still be poor. We have to be extra careful. So, Professor Kuratko of USA said we are experiencing an entrepreneurial revolution in the world. And this revolution will be as powerful to the 21st century as the Industrial Revolution was to the 20th century, if not more. Are we waiting? Africa. Are we waiting? Ghana. That there's this entrepreneurial revolution. All our scientists should be aware. You should be aware, these scientists, that we have entered a new form of revolution. It's no more physique. It's no more machines. But now it's the mind, the mindset. And that's what I want to address now. What kind of mindset do we have? How do we appreciate this music? Was it making noise in your ears? Then there's something wrong somewhere. If not, you're on the path of this entrepreneurship. So this is your brain, which is divided into two lobes. We have the right brain functions, and just study what it does. The right-hand side of your brain, as you sit here, is for color, art. Do you appreciate art? Do you appreciate color? Rhythm, music, it's all part of the right-hand side of your brain. How can you imagine things? You see this place as a wall. You see you are enclosed, but your right-hand side of the brain can penetrate through these walls. And you can see your room, your hotel room, the kind of soap that you used. You can see it. But if you use the left brain, which is so logical, it will analyze and tell you that, oh, this is a room, we are limited, we are here. No. So if you go back to the right, that can give you the imagination, all your talent that you are endowed with. So your creativity and innovation is coming from your right brain. What kind of intuition do you have? If you are logical, then it means you are using your left brain. So then you become a teacher, a manager, a doctor, a scientist. Then we give you wages and salary. We calculate your output, and the society will pay you accordingly. But isn't it surprising that in Africa, most of the time, these medical officers that society adores and pay you so high, they still go on strike, that their salaries are small. Oh. Meanwhile, we are paying you according to your output. But then you see that footballer, that athlete, is getting so much money over and above all lecturers put together. What is happening? They are using their right-hand side of their brain. And for the 21st century, society is paying for people that can showcase their talents. What talent have you got? Is it still academic? As a lecturer? As a scientist? They will pay you $10,000. And to us, we've done so well. Then you go to America and they give you $15,000, $20,000, and you think that you are on top of the world. Meanwhile, Ronaldo is taking home so much. For the next 10 years of your salary, he can still pay you by playing the football. This is where I want us to address today and tomorrow. Dear professors, I want you to read this sentence for the next 10 seconds and give me how many F's that you will see in this sentence. If you've listened to me before, don't show off. Just write down how many F's. F, the letter F that are in it. Please be quiet and see it yourself. I'm only testing your right imaginative brain. Finished files are the result of years of scientific study combined with the experience of years. How many of you got 2? 3? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. How many of you got 9? How many of you got 4? 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You got 4. And some got 3. What about 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Why are we getting different figures? Why? We all went to primary school, we went to JSS. Yeah? Why? Why are we getting 3, 4, 5, and 6? So shall we all say, this is 1, all of us. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Shall we clap for those who had 6? It's a small experiment to show you that part of your right imaginative brain kaput. You have the eyes to see, and yet it could not register. And the reason is that anytime you were reading and you got to off, your brain will tell you, oh, there's no F, just go away. But I want to emphasize that that is the African. And that is the more reason why we still do this galamsey, trying to get gold from the surface. Meanwhile, the surface is the subsoil that will sustain plants. And yet, because we have very little knowledge about it, we are destroying the subsoil. Instead of going deep down so that we protect the subsoil for our plants. Our brain tells us that the gold is just around, so pick it. No. Please, your brain is powerful than any other machine, anything in the world. So let our scientists develop this brain. This brain for the 21st century is more of entrepreneurial imagination. So you are sitting in the lab doing this work. How do you assess it? How do you add entrepreneurship to it? How do you add commercialization to it? And these findings are sitting on the shelves in the universities. If you don't develop your right brain, then there's something wrong. So let's try the number 2. From 0 to 9, how many figures can you see? All of you, straight. 0 to 9. 10. Any other idea? When we meet these IMF people, we go to World Trade Organizations meetings. I'm telling you, they don't see it as 10. They see 0 to 9 as 12. So they beat the Africans by the 2. Say, how? I love it. Shall we clap for the one who said how? Which means that his brain is now working. He's asking questions. African, we don't ask questions. We shout our children down by asking parents questions. Allow them to ask questions. How? Now we go for the negotiations. So the Europeans or the World Trade people are sitting there, and then we are coming to negotiate for the price of our cocoa. Now we have to play cards. How much is it? What quantum per ton? For how many years? And we are all displaying. For us, they see 0 to 9 as 12. The Ghanaian people see it as 10. So they have to beat you with the 2. They say, okay, now let's play cards of 166. And then the Ghanaian will have 1. He will pick the 6 and will be sitting down. And then the other side, they will have the 166 as cards for you. What do you think they have done? Anybody? Where did they get the extra 6? You see, and you call yourself professor. Professors, doctors, scientists. And you don't see how you can make the 6. Just turn the 9 upside down. That's all. And you get your 6. So 166, you bring the 1, the 6, and then turn the 9 into 6. Shall we clap for those people that will make the 166? This is what we need, Africa. From 0 to 100. How many 8s would you pass by? How many 8? 11. Thank you. We are so academic. Sharp brain. Oh, it's a 11. Shall we all say it? 8 is 1, yes. 2, 3. Oh, all of us, get involved. Everybody. We are now. Let's start. 0 to 100. 8 is 1. 18 is 2. 20 is 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. Thank you. But the 88 is 2, so that will make it 11. You have done so well. But you are so academic that you are so wrong. Professor Nyako, we are wrong as academicians. You have left and forgotten 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86. Oh, shall you clap for me? Don't be eh? So it's about 28. But because the right imaginative brain kaput, you pass by the 81, 82, so I know you know. My dear friends, this is the challenge to Africa. How can we see through things so that the technology that we are developing can be commercialized? I can go on and on and on to give you some of these things. But one of the homeworks that I'll give you, that the fourth one, that there is this Greek, Italian, German brains in the showcase, and the prices are not the same. The Greek brain was $1,000. The Italian brain was $2,000. German brain was $5,000. British brain was $10,000. American brain was $20,000. Chinese brain was $25,000. African brain was $150,000. Why? I need the answer by the end of the day. This is your homework. Why is the African brain so expensive than all the others? Then when you give me the reason, you have to substantiate with the reasons why the African brain was more expensive than the Chinese and American brain. So, my dear friends, before I finish off, I want us to, if that is so, how do we develop our right imaginative brain? So are we not wasting time in this academic work Are we not going to change our curriculum to suit this right-hand side of the brain training? So let us start to appreciate art and color, enjoy music, solve puzzles and riddles and games, play toys. You were not given toys when you were a child. Now is the time. Go and buy toys. As if you are giving it to your children. Play with them so that you learn from it. Otherwise, they will be much smarter than you are. Go on excursions. Those of you who have come to Kumasi for the first time, you see differences. Please go to town and see so much things that are there. Humor. If somebody cracks a joke and you do not laugh, there's something wrong with your right imaginative brain. You yourself, you cannot crack a joke. And when somebody cracks a joke, you also don't laugh. And it's part of entrepreneurship. Africa will have to learn how. So these comedians, they come to the stage and they entertain you and you clap. And we think that they are fools. And some comedians will say that, you think that I'm a fool. And you have paid money to come and listen to me. You and I, who is a fool? So please, watch movies and drama and cartoons, listen to poems, and be a critical thinker. So it's about time African scientists, we shifted part of our training to critical thinking. So if you are talking about human capacity building, human capacity development, then let us hammer on the right-hand side of our brain. So I'll just dwell a little on the critical thinking, so that when you go on your group work, please, you have to use critical thinking techniques. It's an objective analysis and evaluation of issues in order to form your judgment. You said that you, Prof, you have done a lot of work and you get only 49%. And the reason is that you did not see through how these 10 things or 7 key areas can bring you the necessary results. All because the analysis and evaluation of issues in order to form your judgment was not done by the right-hand side of your brain. It was more of academic, the left. So you must have a reasonable reflective thinking, focused on deciding what to believe in or what you want to do. Critical thinking as compared with the logical appraisal, which normally you do in your fora, in all your meetings, in all your dialogues. It's all about logical thinking. No, go beyond that. Goes beyond argument with a creative component involving critical assessment. Let us have education that aims at developing skills and knowledge, and which will foster attitude. This is the guy. He's having critical thinking. Most of us do that. But I dare say, and I hope that you are not recording, most Africans will be thinking about somebody's breast coming, somebody's buttocks. And that's all that the critical thinking of the African is about. And I'm doing a research on beads, the beads that were on the lady. And I realized that the beads have so much power for what the African man likes. So we do not really go for sexual enhancement medications at all. Whereas these people have to go for Viagra before they can really perform, we did not need it because of the beats. And since the beats phenomenon collapsed in Africa, in Ghana, for the past 20 years, now we are developing kidney problems and we have to buy dialysis. Because we resort to bitters and this enhancement in aphrodisiacs. My dear friends, that's why we are now visiting dialysis. We are destroying our kidneys. Because the bitters, the molecules are so heavy that the kidney cannot excrete. So you destroy it. But our forefathers, did not need dialysis. And they were marrying 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Now you agree. And I'm telling you that it was because of the beads. Now your women, your girlfriends and your wives are not in beads. And that's why you have to resort to enhancements. At the age of 50, you're already down. Because you are looking down upon your own cultural values that are so scientific, which we didn't know. How can we develop it to make it international? So during your deliberations, please be a critical thinker and have an open mind, fair mind. Search for evidence. Try to be well informed from KNUST here. Consider alternatives. Be level-headed, my dear scientists, and revise your beliefs. Revise your beliefs. So how would you use critical thinking skills at this summit? Number 1, promote teamwork, which I see from your program. We are going to go into groups. Appreciate everybody's idea. Know exactly what you want. Identify the problem. Gather all the facts to be well informed. And so in the group, gather all the facts that you get. None of them is useless. They are all useful. Deal with the consequences that will arise. And bury your biases and superstitions. This one, I want to emphasize on that one. Number 5, bury your biases that you have. Oh, these Africans, look at them. They are carrying their babies at their back. That's your bias. And that you are looking down upon that. I'm telling you, it's the best form of raising your child up. Don't put them in front of you like kangaroo. God did not make us to bring children up by the kangaroo way. If you put your child at your back, which our fathers and mothers and great-grandmothers were doing, they will carry you at the back for 3 years. So from the baby time throughout the 3 years, your legs are spread. It opens your pelvic bone. And that's the time that you are developing the bones in the body. Can you imagine for 3 years that there's this expansion of the pelvic bone? So that when you grow 25, 26, that you carry a baby will be simply put in that cage so easy. So our parents were even delivering babies in the forest easily. There was no cesarean operations. Scientific. Meanwhile, because of your biasness, you are looking down upon it. The same vein, when they carry you at the back, your head is very close to the heartbeat. The warmth of the mother puts you to sleep. The heartbeat rocks you. Kum, 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 kum. Just like you are in a train, and soon you sleep off. That gives you the rhythm. That's why we are so rhythmic. And if there's a music here, and you have the whites and the blacks dancing, you see that the whites will be dancing out of tune. Because they were not carried at the back of their parents. Accept that you are not always right, my dear friends, so be flexible. Break down all your ideas and evaluate. Don't overcomplicate things. Be level-headed and simple. Have ideas. So this is my last slide, and I want you to realize that the future of technology transfer in Africa should have technological entrepreneurship. We have to back it up by preserving our natural ecosystem and control the climate change. I don't know if somebody's coming from Senegal. Is anybody from Senegal? You are from Senegal. Thank you. So you have a tribe called Wolof. Are you a Wolof? Beautiful. So do you have this proverb? Exactly. And I love this proverb from the Wolof tribe of Senegal. The Kula Abal I thank Ingadem Fako next. Kula Abal I thank. Continue. I thank. Fako nah. Thank you. I always pronounce next. But nah. Kula Abal I thank Ingadem Fako nah. Shall we all say it? Kula Abal I thank Ingadem Fako next. That is, if you borrow another man's legs, which we are doing, we borrow these Chinese legs, we borrow European legs, we borrow American legs, and that's why we don't know where we are going as Africa. So Africa, direct yourself. Use your own legs. And thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Before I sit down, I'll put most of these ideas in this book, Fundamentals of Entrepreneurship. I didn't want to die without leaving a legacy. So all this right-hand side of the brain and most of the puzzles are all in this book, so that we should have entrepreneurial mindset. The book 1 and then the book 2. In fact, they are going for so much that Prof. Davis is asking me to give you a discount, special discount. This one is about attitude. Attitude. With a cultural background, that we all preach honesty. But I'm saying that we have to be reliable. We preach honesty from the home, from churches, from schools, but we are not honest, we are not reliable. Borrow somebody's pen right now as a professor, and you deliberately forget to give it back. Are you reliable? Take your car to the mechanic with full fuel. By the time he brings it back to you, he has fixed the engine all right, but there's no fuel. He's not reliable. And we take things for granted. Our time, for example, 9 o'clock, we come to 9:30. We think we've been honest, we've come all right, but were we reliable? No. So these are the issues. And I've seen so many rich people in Africa that die poor. The winning attitude. So the whole set should have been 800 cedis. I'm giving to you half price. Prof. Davis, I'm giving this to you half price. So it's either $40 or 500 cedis. $40, the whole set. But if you want single ones, then this 200, that kind of stuff. And then 100. I'm so grateful for giving me this opportunity, and I'm so happy to have met my colleague scientists. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Doctor. This is real food for thought, and I really want you to present this to the young, upcoming people. And I think we've learned a lot. Just to complement what you said, taking on a memory lane. TCC is 52 years this year. And that was one of the first center for technology transfer. It would, just as a bit of a background, and this is where you said, we don't take, an innovation, further, and we don't invest in it. And I'm really pleased that maybe now the university will acknowledge the importance of TCC. For your information, TCC was the first institution that developed soap using palm oil. We used to use tallow, and they developed this for Liver Brothers. But because we didn't invest in it, Liver Brothers took it. So the key soap you see today, which they use, palm oil, the technology or the research came from TCC. The second one is intermediate moisture processing of shea butter to reduce the rancidity of shea butter. Now shea butter is used everywhere, is globally, but what TCC didn't do is to convert that into value-added product. So even though we developed the product, it's everywhere, and TCC is not even acknowledged for the intermediate moisture, process. And also beekeeping. We talked about beekeeping, and the whole process, the value chain of beekeeping was developed at the TCC, but again, it wasn't taken forward. The Swami magazine, and I hope Professor David will be able to take the participants to Swami magazine, was revolutionized by TCC by producing, small-scale machines to, revolutionize the Swami magazine. So over the last 52 years, and I think it would be good if the university can document it. And I really appreciate, what you said, that sometimes we don't even appreciate what we do. And I think one of the things I also want to add to all the critical thinking is that we should also acknowledge excellence. There should be recognition of excellence. Recognize that some people have done something that, can move, us forward, and we have to recognize them and thank them. So on this note, I'll say thank you very much. I wouldn't want to dilute what you have, just elaborate, even getting into neuroscience. And interestingly enough, this is another new area into neuroscience. And again, Africa, we are not, in it. I mean, it's being done by the West. But I think it's an area that we should also be more actively involved in terms of the new, revolution, the ICT revolution, the neuroscience revolution. So thank you very much. I don't know, Professor Davis, do you have any more information to give before we close the session? Thank you.
Please, another round for Dr. Mensah. Thank you very much, Dr. Mensah, for such a wonderful and really engaging. Ajikum. Thank you very much, Dr. Ajikum, for such a very engaging and interactive session. You have demonstrated the fact that when someone cracks jokes, you need to laugh, and you are really excellent at cracking jokes. And a round of applause for him again. Thank you very much. At the moment, we are bringing the session to an end. And of course, if you really do not want to be a part of those whose right part or the part of their right cognitive imagination kaputs, you might want to get some of the book outside. And they have set up at the front desk with the various books, so if you need some, you might want to get some right from there. And this session has been brought to an end. For those of us who have yet to register, kindly see the front desk people so that you can register your details there. We need that information to process for a couple of staff. Thank you very much. And we need to break for the health break. Before that, we would like to take a group picture right here. So we need everyone to come down here for a group picture, and we will project those online on the screen so that they can all come in on as far as the picture is concerned. Thank you as you make your way down here. Thank you very much.